maybe this has to do with the fact that people aren't paying their rent and are scared to pay their rent. And so they go out and they need to feed their child and they don't have money. So you maybe they're put in a position where they feel like they either need to shoplift some bread or go hungry that night.
Get out of here, Klaus. Shoot. Shoot, clown. The weapons of mass destruction, the missiles are on the Lord's band, and pointed at every nation. Time gets shorter. Crates of guns and ammo from country to country.
Thank God we got AOC to tell us what's going on in New York. Because, you know, this big brain thinks that all this crime is coming. The spin is amazing. She thinks all this crime is coming because people are hungry, because they have to steal bread. I don't know. I think from all the videos I watched of people looting, the bread shelves are pretty much the only things that they didn't touch. So, I don't know. Let's listen to what this halfwit has to say. And comment on it.
I think there's something about this uptick in crime. Let me make something super clear for everyone here having this question. The New York City Police Department has not been defunded.
Not been defunded. They just cut the police budget by $1 billion. $1 billion. Okay.
Even with these budgetary changes that were proposed in City Council, A, they're not fully enacted. B, they aren't a real $1 billion in cuts. And C, it's not really, these cuts aren't really real. And again,
they're not really real.
Literally have not even happened yet. So keep in mind that this uptick in crime that's happening right now is with a $6 billion New York City Police Department budget.
$6 billion police budget. Couldn't be the fact that New York State is like $40 billion in debt, and they're trying to struggle to find money to make up that debt.
So our $6 billion, up to $11 billion, but our $6 billion budget has not prevented this uptick in crime.
The $6 billion budget has not prevented the uptick in crime. Crime has been at the lowest level that it's ever been in New York City before Bill de Blasio took over. So how can she say that? That's just... Wow.
We have funded more and more. We have shoved more and more and more money every single year into the NYPD, $6 billion. And it has not prevented this uptick in crime. So why?
Yeah, we heard you the first time, and you're full of shit. It did prevent crime. I can show you the statistics on that. That's easy. That's easily debunked. Easily debunked. How anybody can believe anything that this waitress says is just it's beyond me.
But let's back up. Why is this uptick in crime happening?
Let's see.
Really think about it.
Okay, let's think about it. Big brain.
This uptick in crime, the NYPD themselves have told a story that's disproven by their own data. At first, the NYPD, they went out and they said, okay, this uptick in crime is happening because of bail reform, because of all of these reforms that we had now. Wait, but they just released data a couple weeks ago that showed that out of almost all the people who have been found to have kind of committed crimes, etc.
You released them all because of COVID-19. Where is this uptick of crime coming from?
Almost none have been re-released due to the bail reform. Like their actual crime data from the NYPD, not even independent data, disproves what they're own saying. So why is this uptick in crime happening? Well, let's think about it. Do we think this has to do with the fact that there's record unemployment in the United States right now?
Due to you and your coronavirus and Governor Cuomo keeping this thing alive around every corner, and people like her who keep promoting the uptick in coronavirus, because now we can't go back to work because of this thing that's killing literally nobody now.
No. The fact that people are at a level of economic desperation that we have not seen since the Great Recession. Maybe this has to do with the fact that people aren't paying their rent and are scared to pay their rent. And so they go out and they need to feed their child and they don't have money. So you maybe have to, they're put in a position where they feel like they either need to shoplift some bread or go hungry that night.
So you're telling me that the uptick in crime is because people are going out and shoplifting bread? That's your thing? The uptick in crime isn't these idiots that are out there burning down minority neighborhoods. That couldn't have anything to do with the financial the financial problems that a lot of people are having. Couldn't have anything to do with it. People are shoplifting bread. That's her excuse for the uptick in crime. Well, thank God this big brain is on the case. Because you know what? I've seen the videos of the looters, and the bread shelves are usually they're still pretty full.
Maybe it's the fact that unemployment provisions have not been given to everyone.
Well, if you don't work, you don't get the unemployment.
People still haven't gotten their stimulus checks yet.
This is a thread from The Hill. I like The Hill. I think they're very good. Very, very fair when they do their thing. But something I didn't know. I got into this a little bit, and there's something I didn't know. This guy tweeted something down below it. Indy Spanglish. Meet Warren Wilhelm Jr. Born with a silver spoon in his mouth, parents had to leave federal jobs because they were communists. He left college to go to Nicaragua in the 1980s and greatly admired the Soviet-backed socialist Sandinista. He returned to America and joined the Nicaragua Solidarity Movement of New York, whose goal was to end capitalism and replace it with democratic socialism. When he married in 1994, he honeymooned in Cuba. Said he was very proud of his Marxist work. Worked for both of the Clinton campaigns. In 2001, he changed his name to Bill de Blasio. And I saw that and I was like, well, it's a tweet. I got to do some more research. And it comes out to be that, here's the lefty thing, the lefty Snopes. This is Snopes, which is a pretty far left thing for fact checking. They are pretty biased on a bunch of stuff. But the question was, in May 2019, social media post targeted the would-be 2020 Democratic presidential nominee for his past political positions, as well as his decision to change his name. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio was previously named William Wilhelm Jr. and once supported the socialist government in the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. Mostly true. Mostly true. Bill de Blasio was born Warren Wilhelm, but legally changed his name to Bill de Blasio in 2001 for personal reasons having to do with his family's relationships. He was a supporter and advocate of the revolutionary socialist Sandinista government in Nicaragua during the 1980s. What's false, contrary to the claims of subterfuge or secrecy on his part, Bill de Blasio has publicly discussed the deeply personal and somewhat traumatic reasons for his decision to change his name. Furthermore, while he was during the 1980s a strong supporter of the Sandinistas, Bill de Blasio has more recently articulated a measure of criticism of the movement. Okay. So, that's what's false is that he didn't try to hide it. Okay. Of course, I didn't even know about it until I just found out about this. So he didn't hide it, but nobody really promoted either. No, you didn't hear it on CNN and MSNBC and Fox News when he was running for president. You didn't hear it on the news that he, was a strong supporter of the Sandinistas. And it says he was a strong supporter of the Sandinistas, but Bill de Blasio has more recently articulated a measure of criticism for the movement. And his criticism was that they didn't go far enough. They didn't do enough to win. Now, what side you're on with the Nicaragua, because that was a huge mess. It was a huge mess. It's like if you want to know about Nicaragua, look at Venezuela right now, because that's pretty much the same thing. You had a brutal dictator in Nicaragua, and the Sandinistas were the rebels who were fighting against the brutal dictator, okay, who was killing people and it was a military. It was just brutal. It was brutal. He was killing people. So the people decided to stand up against this and have what they called a democracy, but it was all funded at that time by the Soviet Union. Now, the Soviet Union was also in Cuba, and then you had Nicaragua, and so that was they were doing it for a reason, so that they could get their military into Nicaragua, because it was close to our borders, of course. So that was your choice, was to either go with the brutal dictator or go with the communist, or go with a communist movement. Not much of a choice. Not much of a choice at all. But that's the same thing that's going on in Venezuela right now. You can either go with Guaido, who is a socialist. He's just as bad, just socialist. Or you could go with the brutal dictator that's there now. So this is why I'm saying this, because Bill de Blasio already knows. He's probably studied this stuff for years and years and years. And one of the things I could imagine would be one of his tactics would be to let the criminals out. If I have an excuse to the reason why we need to let all these criminals back out on the streets, and then cause as much chaos as he possibly can, because sooner or later people will be screaming for Bill de Blasio to do something, or Governor Cuomo to do something, and that's when they come in and take over, and there you go, you got your brutal takeover. But unfortunately for them, they can't coerce Donald Trump into taking military action, which is what they want, because they can then call him a brutal dictator. See, that's the thing with socialists. They need a brutal dictator to fight against, and it's not working. It's not working. So the more they burn these cities down, the more they, and Donald Trump doesn't do anything about it. It's like, that's totally fine. It's totally fine. Because you got, you got Minneapolis right now, or the governor of Minnesota trying to get emergency funds for Minneapolis because but Donald Trump just said, no, this is your problem. You did this. You allowed this to happen. You do this on your own. It's your problem. The more they try, the more they're failing. That's the whole thing with socialism, man. You need to have that brutal dictator. Why do you think all of these people that are in all this police brutality and everything else is going on in these Democrat cities? Why do you think that's happening in all Democrat cities? Mostly Democrat cities. Not all, but mostly. It's because you have to have that brutal dictator to fight against. You have to have that reason to have that fight. Socialism doesn't work if you're in a nation that's already free and independent, and you can have your social programs. You can I don't mind some social programs. I'm willing to help. I think charity is better, but most of these socialists and Democrats won't give to charity. They'd rather have a brutal government take it from you no matter what. So you can't choose which one you want to support. You have to support what they tell you to support. But this is why they keep racism alive in these Democrat cities, because you have to have that thing to fight against. So sometimes it turns around on you. It's pretty cool. It's pretty great that at this point right now, judge approves petition to recall Democrat Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin. Oh, here we go. Here's the fall girl right here. The King County, Washington Superior Court judge has approved a petition to recall election for Democrat Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin. The Seattle Times reported that the Friday ruling over Durkin's recent handling of the police brutality can proceed, allowing petitioners to start getting enough signatures to get the recall measure on the ballot. Cuomo reported that the plaintiffs behind the petition would have to collect 50,000 signatures before an election can be held. The Durkin petitioners' recall effort accuses Durkin of endangering the peace and safety of the community by allowing the police to leak false information about fabricated crimes and threats to the media. Talking about Chaz. They leaked false information and fabricated crimes. We saw them for ourselves on video. We saw them for ourselves. The whole world saw it. What do you mean fabricated and false? The petitioners also accused the mayor of restricting certain property rights in the neighborhoods of Capitol Hill, where many protesters occurred in downtown Seattle. A spokeswoman for the meaning, I think that means like these people took over the Chaz and then they got kicked out. So they're claiming certain property rights down there. I don't know. A spokesperson for the mayor's office on Saturday rejected these claims, saying the mayor consistently has acted to protect the city's public health and safety and to respect the constitutional rights of peaceful protesters. I saw peaceful protesters in all of this. I saw peaceful protesters for about 20 minutes. That's it. 6 weeks ago, I saw about 20 minutes worth of peaceful protesting. Now it's just the same people, the same Marxist and people that have been putting on all these protests for the same. You go to a peaceful protest now, and maybe 10% of them are actually black in that thing, because I've seen more videos now of black people going, what the hell are you guys doing? You know, there's something that white people and black people share in common. They don't want to get shot. They don't like to be shot. So the petitioners filed 7 charges against Durkin, but out of those charges, only one of them was applicable to support the recall election. The use of tear gas and other chemical agents against rioting in the streets. Oh, they actually called it rioting. That erupted in Seattle during the protests over George Floyd's death in May. Which probably half of them don't even know his name anyways. Seattle police used pepper spray and flashbangs to stop the riots in Seattle, which had been going on for days since Floyd's death. The recall effort is called the Fire the Mayor campaign. And there you go. There you go. Even in these Democrat-run shitholes like Seattle and San Francisco, now they're going after the Democrat mayors because she didn't allow them to do what they wanted to do. She didn't allow this to go on. She allowed it to go on for 6 freaking weeks. And then they went to her, one of the self-proclaimed socialist board members took a big group to her house, and then she went, oh, that's it. So this woman's getting shit on everywhere. It's hilarious because she was all in support of it. She was all in support. Now they're eating their own because they have to have an enemy. They couldn't get Donald Trump to bite and bring in the National Guard and do all that what they wanted them to do. They couldn't prove to the world that Donald Trump was a brutal dictator. Couldn't prove it. So now they got to go after Jenny Durkin. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. But this is the big one here with Bill de Blasio. I didn't know that he was like this. Mr. de Blasio's involvement with the Sandinistas didn't happen in 1917, 70 years later, when the cruelty and intrinsic failure of communism had become crystal clear to anyone with a modicum of reason. Bill de Blasio's class warfare strategy in New York City is directly out of the Marxist playbook. Yeah. He has aligned with self-proclaimed Marxist leaders of the national BLM movement, whose fundraising head is a convicted domestic terrorist, communist Rosenberg. Huh. Some of these tweets are pretty cool, pretty funny. But yeah, it's pretty. My buddy Hex and Hammer 666. If you haven't watched his YouTube, go watch it. It's pretty cool. I like it. I like that guy a lot. So there you go. That's AOC's big brain theory on the crime in New York City. And now you know more about Bill de Blasio and what's going on. And I'll bet you if we go through some of these other mayors, they're going to be on the same page. Same similar backgrounds, same similar educations. You know, he honeymooned in Cuba. Well, Bernie Sanders honeymooned in Russia, in the Soviet Union, called it wonderful. You know, the same Bernie Sanders that says the breadlines are a wonderful thing. Breadlines are good. It means government's taking care of these people. No, it means the government controls everything, and all you got left is a breadline, idiot. Ugh. Oh well, so that's my little rant for today. Just keep aware of this stuff and keep pay attention. Pay attention, people. Come on. This is getting out of hand. It's ridiculous. We need to start paying attention and calling this stuff out and really just, you got to call it out. You can't be afraid to talk. Can't be afraid to speak up. Can't be afraid. All right. That's it for me today. Love you. Bye.